we just have to see that instead of giving in that details, I'll just use this diagram maybe. You see, so how is this network is moving? For example, when Bitcoins was first started, uh, basically there was no transaction. Okay, and so basically world state, there was ledger was empty, world state was also empty, and then few transactions was proposed. Okay, now when those transactions were proposed, there were, as I call these as miners. Okay, these basically the machines that I listed, we call them as miners because these miners who constitute this network, they basically work together, and they receive all these transaction, and then they are going to agree on the specific order of this transaction, and those transactions are going to basically approved by the network as a whole. So now, so therefore, Bitcoins basically ask basically these miners uh, to basically propose their own ordering, and so basically they prepare a block. Okay, a block of transaction. Everyone prepare their own block of transaction that they want the entire network to be approved next. Okay, and how this has happened we will see. But 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 the point is that everyone proposes some block of transactions that that, I mean, so the transaction pool is where they have received all the transaction. These are unconfirmed transactions. That means they have received it, they have validated them, so they're valid transaction, but they're still unconfirmed in the sense that network as a whole hasn't really agreed on the ordering, a specific ordering of the transaction that they are going to approve it next. So in a sense, they are unconfirmed transaction. So everyone prepare a specific block of transaction, and then we will see that network will perhaps accept one of the blocks, and that block is going to be accepted by everyone else also. Okay, and so this is what the first block, and these blocks are numbered. So this was the first block ever which had few transactions. In fact, in the first block there was only one transaction, which was basically the transaction which was the Satoshi, the person who basically said to behind this creation of the Bitcoin. So there was only one transaction in that block, and that block was accepted, and that's how, and that block is basically the first component of the ledger. Okay, and then as per that transaction, basically world state was updated. So at that point there was only one block, and that block has the transaction. Now after that, again, as you see, I'm just for simplicity, for example, I'm just imagining here the block 0 was updated, and I mean accepted by the network, and there were k transaction in the block, and as a result the world state has entries with respect to these k transactions, and this block was basically the part of the ledger. Now again, many transactions were put into the network, and again every miner were preparing block of transactions, and one of the block was accepted, and that block is come to call as block number 1. And there were again next r minus k transactions. Okay, you see, k plus 1 up to r, so these many transactions, and those are accepted, and as per them the world state was updated. Like some entries in the previous world state was now marked as spent, new entries were created, and so on. But now this is now the updated world state. But what is the ledger? We said the ledger is basically consisting of all the transactions that were ever accepted by the network. In this case, as you can see, ledger consisting of 2 blocks, and in the block you have actually the transaction. So this is how the network will proceeds. Again, here maybe many transaction will be put into the network, and miners will again prepare a block, and somebody's block is accepted, and that way the world state is again updated, and that block is now comes to call as block number 2. Okay, so that's how you see, uh, at any point in the network a certain block is accepted, and that block is containing transaction, and that block is prepared by some miner. Okay, and and of course the miner has to do some kind of a work for that, and if its block is accepted, then the miner will in return get something. Okay, so we will actually look into this whole procedure of block preparation. But one thing for sure, that this is how you can think of the entire working of the network. So at any point of time, what is happening? I mean, at this point, you can imagine, at this point, every miner basically sort of have agreed on all the previous block that were accepted. And at this point, this is the world state that they refer to. Now they have received a lot of transactions. These are all in their transaction pool. All of them have validated, and these are unconfirmed transaction. But now every miner will take out from their transaction pool some transaction, and they prepare their block. And these blocks can be different. But after this, they will run into some procedure, and somebody's block will finally be accepted by the entire network, and we will have to see that procedure. And that block, once it is accepted, is actually now part of the ledger. Okay, so everyone agrees on these are the next transaction, and the world state is updated accordingly, and that's how the network moves. And after this, all the miners now refer to this as the world state, and then again they work on the next set of transactions that they want to approve. Okay, so at this point, so how to prepare a block? So as a miner, you have transaction that you have received, and and you have actually validated all those transactions, and now, but these are now still unconfirmed transaction, because you just want, I mean, you want network to agree basically on those transactions. So yes.
Sir, the miners who are in the network, how are they selected?
No,
Like
nobody
who,
selects
how
them.
they are
No, you
randomly
can
they
actually, no,
randomly
yeah,
they can we can apply we can mine the transaction.
no. I mean, your first, is it the question that can you be a miner? That's what you're saying?
No, I am trying to say in a network who like all cannot be miners, correct?
No, I mean, all cannot be minor. I mean, all need not be minor. I mean,
Yeah.
you can choose to be a minor. When you choose to be a minor, you have to work. Okay.
So, sir,
You because
my question is like, suppose there are 20 means nodes in a network. Four of the
hmm.
nodes are the minor nodes, right?
Yes, yes.
Randomly, these
Hmm.
people, like just now you show us. So, how are how are they chosen? Like, suppose I develop an application. So, how
Hmm.
will I choose that these will be the minors, or I create a public
No.
blockchain?
You don't get to choose your minors. See,
Hmm.
at this point, if there are four, I mean, it's up to you. There are four minors. They are not selected. They are there by choice. Like you want to join them as a minor, so you can
Hmm.
simply join them. So you will be a fifth
So,
minor. So
so
next
in
time when
that,
somebody make,
as you said that I want, if I
yeah,
want to, as you said, if I want to be a minor, like I could join as a minor.
yes, you can join as a minor. Okay, you can join as a
Now,
minor.
suppose
And
like
so,
if I'm a,
hmm,
if I'm a hacker or
hmm,
I'm a miner who has tried to get into the blockchain network to
hmm,
create problem,
hmm.
then
Yeah,
so
you can try that.
how can we no
Yeah, so we will
how
see
can
that.
we
No,
hmm,
you will see
okay,
that. We will see that one of these minors can be malicious. Okay, you try to behave, you try to deviate from the
malicious,
protocol. Yeah, yeah.
yeah
So one of them can be malicious, but we will see that even if you are malicious,
hmm.
you will not be. It will be very difficult for you to get your block approved or do something which is considered malicious. We will come to that. Yeah, because you can be a malicious minor,
Like
but and
51% attack is there.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
51%
understand,
attack.
like
Yeah,
50%
51%.
people are malicious and
Yeah,
49% become malicious, then also it will not be hacked. The
no, no,
blockchain
no,
cannot be.
no. 51%. If it is, then there is a problem. There is a
Yeah, means like, but in case the 51% people approves it, then it would be an approved transaction.
we will see that.
Okay.
See, first of all, there is a thing. What say? Suppose there are five miners here, yeah, and three of the miners are malicious. Okay, that means they are more than the majority of the honest miners. Yeah. Okay.
Majority,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So now these three miners, what they can do? Okay, they can cheat in certain way. Okay,
Hmm. Yeah.
but they cannot steal your money. Okay, by that
Okay.
what I mean, that even if all of them are malicious, but they still cannot cheat your money which was available earlier. Okay, because
Hmm.
that is again one guarantee. Crypto gives a guarantee. But but in the future they can cheat certain people. We will talk about, I mean, they can double spend and certain things they can do, but for that requires sort of 51, at least 51% miners to be malicious. But if the miners who are dishonest but they are in minority, then they cannot do much. Okay, we will come to that, but for that to understand we have to see what are miners supposed to do. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, that's we have to see. Okay, so I mean, when you are miner, what is that you want to do? You want to actually take part in approving transaction. Why do you do that? That is important thing. Why do you do that? When you become a miner, you actually validate this transaction and then you prepare a block. But the preparation of block is not easy. For that you have to work. Okay, and when you work, what do you get in return? We will see that in return you actually get bitcoins. Okay, who gives you those bitcoins? uh, it's like somebody else giving you bitcoins. We will see, those are interesting details. Okay, but let's see what happens. So at this point, suppose uh, in the past, overall t minus 1 blocks were accepted so far in the network. So far, from the time Bitcoin came into place, up to now, say t minus 1 blocks were accepted by the network. And at this point, you see the tth block is to be prepared by the network, and all the miners have received transaction, and all of them try to get their block basically accepted by the network. Okay, and at this point, just imagine, uh, there is this one particular miner, and this miner is basically in the race to prepare the tth block and want to get it accepted by the network. And in this block, it's of course going to put some transaction which are it's going to be it want the network should accept. And these transactions are, say for example, 3 transactions: txn1, txn2, txn3. Okay, now we want to see what it is to prepare a block of transaction by this miner. So we will see that, first of all, this miner will start preparing this block, and this block is, we call it the tth block. Okay, and this block has 2 parts. One is a header and another is a part where you put the transaction. So first of all, this miner is going to put 3 transactions that it has received in the network, and it has might have in the transaction put, it might have 10 transactions. Okay, but it has, out of those 10 transactions, it decided to put these 3 transactions uh, into the block. Okay, it also put a special transaction. Okay, we will see what is this transaction. So in together it will put 4 transactions. Okay, so 3 transactions in from the transaction pool, and 1 transaction it's put a special transaction. These 4 transactions it put, and then it also prepare a header for this block. And this, in order to prepare this header, it has to do some kind of work. and 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 then once this is successfully done, the block is prepared. Now the question is that the same task is also done by other miners. Okay, so some other miner is also in the race to prepare the tth block, and that miner also might put some 5 transaction there, and of the 5 transaction, these 3 transaction may be available there also, and that miner also tries to prepare a block header. So all of these miners, they are in the race to prepare the tth block, and each of these miners have put some transaction in it, uh, and these are the transactions which are currently unconfirmed transaction in the network. And whoever will come to prepare this block first, just imagine, I'm just putting a little more simplification here. The idea is that whoever is going to prepare his or her own block first is going to win this race, and then all the other miners are going to accept that block as the winning block, and that's how that block is accepted, and others has to basically approve it, accept it. Now let's see what it entails, how it is, how easy it is to prepare, or how difficult it is to prepare this block. Okay, so first of all, the transactions that you're going to put in your block, that you have to validate. Every miner has to validate. So that means, and that we know how to validate this transaction. So txn1, there are input and outputs. You have to input, you have to check whether it's a valid transaction and so on. Similarly for all of this. So you validate all of this transaction. Now that is one part. Now you put this transaction here. Now you have to prepare the block. So we see what goes into the block header. Okay, what goes into this block header. Okay, we will come to that. But suppose if the miner prepares this properly, and then if this is what is prepared ahead of everybody else, then this miner is going to get some money. Okay, how is that money calculated? That is what we have to see. Okay, so first of all, one way to get a reward is the following. All this transaction that the miner put here, these transactions were put into the network by different users, and all of them have committed some kind of a transaction fee. So this, some transaction fee was here, some transaction fee was here, some transaction fee was here, and they didn't mention where this transaction fee go. They simply left it aside. Now the idea here is that the miner is going to put a special transaction here, and in that transaction it will simply write that the sum of this transaction fee is basically going to get to, I mean, it's going to be controlled by a lock script which is under the control of the miner's address. So it will write such a transaction here. This transaction is called coin-based transaction. Okay, it's a special transaction, and in this transaction the miner is simply going to say that the fees to some of this transaction fee is now going to be owned by the miner itself, and this transaction is going to be a valid transaction provided this block is going to be a valid block, and it is prepared ahead of everybody, and it is accepted by the entire network. And if it is so, then this transaction is basically taken effect, and the money that it listed here is basically goes to the miner. So that is one way that the miner is sure that if it's going to prepare this block ahead of everybody, then the transaction fee, total transaction fee, is going to be owned by this miner. But that's not the only money it gets by preparing the miner. There is also something called block subsidy. Okay, so that is also it's going to get. So the idea is the following. So when a miner going to prepare a block, it actually receives a block reward. If it's block, it's going to be accepted by the network, and the block reward has two things. There is block subsidy and the total number of transaction fee uh, of all the transactions which are available in the block. And how the block subsidy is calculated? That's a fixed number, which is fixed for a certain interval. So for example, if you are creating a block whose height is right now, for example, t here, then you have to divide t by this number, okay, and take the floor and then divide 50 by 2 power L, and whatever is that amount, that is the amount which you will also claim. Okay, and this is like money is introduced out of blue, okay, into the network. Okay, so for example, this is the date when for the first time the Bitcoin was started in 2009, 3rd January, and that's when the first block was created, which is called the Genesis block, and whose height was 0. And from 0 to up to this block, which is 210,000 height, which was mined sometime at 2012. So 3 years gap, or almost 4 years gap, 2009 to November 2012. Okay, almost December 2012, about 4 years of gap. In this 4 years gap, whenever a block was created, the block subsidy for that block was 50 bitcoins. Okay, because whenever a block height was created, that height was divided by this, and that is basically what, because that height was less than this number, as you can see. So that will L was basically 0. The 2 to the power 0 is basically 1. So block subsidy was actually 50. So in that case, 50, I mean, every time a miner was proposing a block, the block reward was computed as follows. So block subsidy was also given 50 bitcoins plus all the transactions that were available in the Bitcoin, their transaction fee was also added, and the total was actually awarded to the miner. Now, these transaction fees are of course coming from some other users. Okay, but where is this block subsidy coming from? This is like the way to introduce money into the network. Like in the traditional uh, currency, the government prints money. Similarly, in the Bitcoin network, these are the way by which you create money into the network. Uh, so, so for example, uh, you see, uh, you look at this date, which is what? 5th March 2021. Okay. On that day, at this particular time, the network basically selected this block as the winning block. And this block was created, the height of this block was 673,225. Okay. So that whoever is the miner who actually gotten this block accepted by the network, that miner will get what kind of money? Let's see. So of course it will get the transaction fee and also the subsidy. How was the subsidy computed? This is the height. You divide the height by the 210,000 number, you get L, and L turns out to be 3.2. You take the floor, which is 3. So you divide 50 by 2 to the power 3, you get actually 6.25. So every 4 years, the block reward is halved. And right now, the current block reward subsidy is basically 6.25. So from 2009 to 2012, it was 50. Then for next 4 years, it was 25. Then for the next 4 years, it was actually kept at 12.5, halved, it is halved in half. And from this to current, it's going to be for until the year 2140, you will see that, oh no, sorry, for the next 4 years, it was 6.25. Okay. And then again, it will halve and it will be continue to be like this. And by the year 2140, you see, you will actually done 64 halves. And by that time, the block reward subsidy will turns out to be zero. And then the Bitcoin miners are going to only receive once they actually uh, get their blocks accepted, the only money that they get is basically by the transaction fee. But now at this point, for example, the money for every block that was accepted by the network, the miner of the block receives 6.25 bitcoins plus the total transaction fee for all the transactions that are accepted in the block. Okay. And that's the kind of money they get. But this 6.25 right now, the money that is that is come, like these are like money which is printed into the Bitcoin network. Okay. They are bootstrapped. They are created out of blue. Okay. And just because a transaction is written now, that this is a special transaction, coin-based transaction, and network has agreed. So that basically means that new bitcoins are entered into the network. Okay. And in a sense, that way that's how you actually know the total number of bitcoins available in the network. Because when bitcoin started, no bitcoins was there. Yeah. But the first block was accepted, in that there was one transaction which has zero transaction fee. But because of that block accepted, 50 bitcoins came into the picture. And that's how 50 more, and that's how bitcoins kept added. And and later, when transaction fee was calculated, transaction fee was like going from, I mean, later all bitcoins were moving from one place to other, but the total number of bitcoins at any point available in the network is, we are able to easily compute. Yeah. I mean, in fact, at any date, if you want to know what is the total number of bitcoins available in the network, you can easily know, because that's how, by the block subsidy, that's how the bitcoins are come into the picture. Okay. So that's very interesting. Yeah. Okay. So for example, for the first few blocks, I mean, for at least 1 year, 2 year, all of them were mined by Satoshi. And Satoshi therefore basically got all those bitcoins. and all of those bitcoins make him perhaps the richest, him or her the richest person, yeah, because those are owned by that person. And interestingly, you can use the blockchain explorer and see all of those transactions whether they were still spent or not, and you will see that all of them are mostly are actually still unspent. That means the person who owns them, Satoshi, is actually still owning them. It hasn't spent them, and they are still there. And you see, you can actually see all the details. Okay, fine. So that's how you actually get the block reward. So there is definitely right now, if somebody, the miner who is proposing a block, uh, and if the block is accepted, they actually get to they actually get 6.25 bitcoins plus all the transaction fee. And the 6.25 bitcoin is like really really valued. You know right now what is the money for one bitcoin, equivalent money. So it actually gives thousands and thousands of dollars for one block preparation. And so therefore this block preparation cannot be easy, because in return you are going to get thousands of dollars, yeah, for one block preparation. So this block is preparation going to be extremely difficult task. You cannot just become a malicious miner just like that and actually get your block accepted ahead of others. Okay, you can be honest miner, but you have to still work, and because you have to compete with a lot of other miners, and the one who got it prepared fast will actually get their block accepted by the network. So what it entails to prepare such a block? It has to be very difficult task. Okay? It cannot be easy. Okay, because in return you get thousands and thousands of dollars. Yeah. Okay, so now we go ahead and we look at the details of the header. Okay, in order to prepare the block, we have to prepare the header. That's how the valid block is prepared. Now, what are the tasks? Okay, so in the block, in the header, the miner has to put 6 fields, and some of them are very easy. Okay, so the block structure, this is the header structure. The first is the version. So you put what is the version of the protocol that you use to prepare the header, and that's version you put. So that's very easy. Next is what we call n hash hash previous block. That basically means what? When you are preparing this block, that block is basically the tth block. So that basically means before that, uh, the block that was prepared by the accepted by the network has height t minus 1, and that block is accepted by the network. So you have to get hold of that block, look at the header of that block, and apply the hash, and that hash you are going to put it here. So which is basically means that you are preparing your tth block on the t minus 1th block. So look at, so this is the block header. There are 6 fields. The first field is this is the version. You put the version very quickly. The next is basically that you are preparing the tth block header. So you get hold of the t minus 1 number block, a block at height t minus 1, look at its header, apply the hash, whatever is that number that you are going to put in this field of the header of the block at height t that you are preparing. Okay, that's what you have to do. Okay, next is what? Next is the field which we called Merkle root. In this field, what are you going to put? Okay, I'm very mechanically going to put, describe what is to be done here, and of course, why these are done. That requires also discussion, and these are also very interesting discussions. Okay, so okay, what goes here? Next field, the field, this field will have this value that the miner is certainly going to put. So miner is going to create a Merkle tree. Okay, so Merkle tree is a binary tree, and what will be the height of the binary tree? Okay, and what goes into the leaf nodes of the tree? So you see, you have to prepare a height, a binary tree of a certain height, which depends on the total number of the transaction that you are going to put in your block. So right now here you are going to put 3 transaction, and with that, and with your special transaction, this is going to be 4 transaction. So 4 transaction means it's 2 square, and so you need basically a binary tree of height 2. But if you're whatever is the total number of transaction, you need a binary tree of height say k, such that 2 to the power k is just bigger than the total number of transactions that you're going to put. So in this case here, we are going to put a a tree of height 2, and so therefore the tree has 4 leaf nodes, and which is enough for your transaction. So in the leaf nodes, you're going to put hash of your transaction. So these are basically then transaction IDs. So in the first leaf node, you put hash of your transaction, Coinbase transaction, and in all the rest, you're going to put the hash of your these transaction. So suppose in your block, if you had, for example, TXN 4, TXN, for example, 5 transactions. So in together, you have 6 transactions. In that case, you would actually require a tree of height 3. Okay, and in that case, you put hash of the transaction 0, then hash of the transaction 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then still 2 are left. In that, you again actually can replicate the same transaction, not a problem. Okay, and then these are leaf nodes, and leaf nodes, you actually put the hash of this transaction. Then intermediate node, you are going to do the following. You are going to pair, you're going to compute a hash of these 2 transactions that you put here, and similarly hash of these 2 transactions, you put it here. Then these values you again hash, and that's what you put here, and that is the root value that you compute. Similarly here, you would do hash of 0, 1, hash of 2, 3, and so on. Then you put again hash of this and this. Similarly, you put hash of this and this, this and this, and then this and this, and then this and this, and that's what you get the root. Okay, and that whatever is that root value, that we call Merkle tree root, and that's we are going to put it here. Okay, so that's how this is what, and this also should not take much time. It's all hash computation, and you can very quickly compute that. Okay, next is what? This is done. Next is so these 3 fields are done. Next is what? End time. What is this? End time is basically the timestamp, and and the timestamp is to be recorded in Unix time format.
So I have a question
Yes.
for Merkle root. Like
Yes,
this
yes.
this transaction, like this is the tree we have created for Merkle tree. Now this Merkle root tree is basically calculated for what? Means
This is calculated for the transaction that you are going to put in your block.
the hash values.
Yeah, yeah. So this Merkle root is created based on your transaction. And how it is created? As you see at the leaf nodes, I put the hash of my transaction.
Okay.
And then I go ahead like this. So basically after this, I have basically 2 values here, yeah, which are hashes.
Yeah.
And then I again compute hash on these 2 numbers. I have another hash here.
Okay, for a block, the number of transactions done, there is a final hash value that being created at the this root level.
Yes,
and
yes.
that is the value here. This is that is getting stored for that particular block. Okay.
Yes,
Just to
particular block.
just to identify the actual transaction hash values in for this Merkle for this particular block. Correct? Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. For your block, see, other miner might have other transaction. So
Yeah.
The Merkle tree root for that miner will be
keep changing.
different.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
will
it will
keep
be
changing based on the number of transactions, based on the transaction hash values. Right?
Yeah. The specific transaction itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
The miner can have 3 transactions. The other miner can also have 3 transactions. But if the transactions are different, the hash value will be different. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So now this is what. But why do we do that? Of course, there are reasons for that, which I cannot right now talk about, because these are very specific, constructions. This is to ensure that integrity of your ledger is preserved and so on. Nobody will be able to change anything and so on. Okay, a lot of ideas go into that, which is not very difficult if you go a little deeper.
Yeah, I got
Okay,
that point. I got that.
yeah. So next is you see end time, and end time is basically is you record a time. You record here a time where you put a time here when you actually started preparing the block. For example, you started preparing your block at a certain point of time, and that time you can put it here. Okay, so that's also easy. Okay, so these are the four things. Now what is the fifth and sixth? These are the difficult. Fifth is also easy. The sixth is all actually the difficult thing. So what is n bits and n nonce? What is these fields? Okay, so n bit fields is actually not, is something which you don't actually fill. This is actually given to you by the network. So the network actually gives you, at a particular time that you started to prepare the block, it will give you some number which you put it here, and that number actually specifies a certain cryptographic problem. Okay, okay, so it gives you some cryptographic puzzle. Okay, so this number actually encodes the cryptographic puzzle, and that puzzle is given to you by the network, and you put that puzzle here, and then you have to solve that puzzle, and the solution of that puzzle you have to put it here. Do you get it? So the fifth field is what? Is some number. It's also a 32-bit number, and that number is giving you, that number actually describes the cryptographic puzzle, and that puzzle you have to solve. Okay, that puzzle you have to solve, and that solution of that puzzle you are going to put it here. And solving that requires time, and anybody who actually going to solve it ahead of others or fast is likely to prepare the block ahead of others, and possibly the block is going to be accepted ahead of others. Okay, so we will have to see what is that puzzle, but at this point you can just imagine this is some puzzle and it has a solution, and you have to find that solution, and the solution you have to put it here. Okay, so once you prepare this, and suppose you prepare it ahead of others, you send it, you send your block to everyone, and everyone receive this block, and then they want to see whether your block is correct block or not. How do they check that? Once this block is gone to others, they will start checking whether your block is correct or not. How do they check? They will check first all the transaction. Okay, okay, and then of course they start looking at the header. They see what is the version, fine. Then they look at this one. So this is like tth block, and then they look at the t minus 1th block, which is already available in the network. They compute the hash, and then they check whether this is equal to this or not. That way they know that this is built on t minus 1th block. Then they look at this field. They will recompute the Merkle tree root, and then they check whether this is equal to this or not. That way this is done. Then they look at the time which you have proposed, no problem, you put this. Then they look at the problem, okay, that you tried to solve, and then they look at the solution. Now this solution, they're looking at this solution, they will be easily able to verify whether this solution is indeed a solution of this problem. So the solution is, the problem is such that the solution is difficult to compute, but once you have the solution, you will be able to verify whether it is indeed the solution of the problem. Okay, so other miners will immediately see whether this is a valid solution of the problem that it wants to solve or not. Okay, and the problem also valid or not, because this is the problem they also have received in order to basically prepare the tth block. If they see that the solution is there, then they know that this block is a valid block, and it is prepared by this miner ahead of others. So as a rule proposed by the network, everyone will play honest, and everyone will immediately accept this block as the tth block accepted by the network, and the other miners who were also preparing this tth block, they actually accept the defeat, and then they discard their ongoing effort in preparing a tth block, because they know that there is already a clear winner, and they simply discard, and then they start participating in the race to prepare t plus 1th block now, because they know that this block, this race they have lost. So they immediately get started into preparing the block at height t plus 1. And then immediately, this is again the same thing. In the t plus 1th block, they will put some transaction again, which are still unconfirmed, and they will also put version. Now in, in the hash field, they will put now hash of the tth block. So they will compute hash of this header and put in the t plus 1th block. They will again put the Merkle root of the transaction that they are going to put in their t plus 1th block. They put the time, and the network will give them now a problem which is for t plus 1th block. When I say how is this network giving you time, like who is giving you the problem? Well, again, there is a very interesting way to actually derive the problem, okay, which everyone will follow, and everyone will actually arrive at a unique problem. And this problem is also like based on, the difficulties also changes and so on. This is also very nicely done, okay. But the point is that at the t plus 1th height, again they will get a problem, and everyone will try to solve this problem, and whoever will solve this problem will actually get their block accepted, okay. So that's how. Now the only thing we have to see, what is this problem, and how is this problem is basically solved, okay. So now I think I'm already it's 1:24. I think I cannot describe the problem at this point, because this is the mining problem. It's not very difficult, but it takes a bit of time, okay. But at this point, I think I will share the slides. But the important thing is that you know that there is a problem and you have to solve this problem. And whoever will solve this problem will basically, their block is basically accepted. Okay, so that shows how you actually prepare the block header. Okay, and the exact details of the problems are given here. It's not difficult. Okay, I've given you exact instances of the problem. For example, on 2009, when Satoshi solved the first problem like this. Similarly, for example, on a particular other date, for example, 10th February 2021, this is the problem was solved by the network. Okay, and how much time it takes and so on and so on. All of this you can see. But that shows basically this is how blocks are accepted, and once block is accepted, the transactions are accepted. Okay, so I will stop here and I will refer to this part. As you can see, so you now know that how a block is accepted and how transactions are accepted, and how basically miners are talking to each other in accepting the block. So at any point, transactions are there in the transaction pool. They prepare the block. Whoever is prepared ahead of the time, they actually their block is accepted, and that's how the transaction are accepted by the network. Okay, and validation of the transaction we have already discussed. Okay, and once a block is accepted, we know that there is a connection of the block, isn't it? Because this block's header has one field where the hash of its previous block's header. Yeah, that's how they are connected. They're linked, and that's why we call it also blockchain, because there are these blocks and there is a chain of which is actually binding these blocks. Because in the header of the blocks, there is one field which has a value hash of the previous block header. Okay, so that's how they are chained together, and every block is valid in certain sense and so on. So that's how about it. I plan to actually go now and more detail into the transaction. Okay, and yeah, yeah. So now we already seen the transaction. But we want to actually give a little bit of more detail in the transaction. In fact, exact details of the transaction, like the inputs and outputs, and you see basically every transaction has multiple inputs and multiple outputs, and every input has already some part. We saw sequence number, unlock, and so on. But there are other things that we also want to discuss. But I think I have a one talk tomorrow morning. That's what Kumar has told me. So I might just try to give those details there, and I actually be able to show you very interesting details of these transactions, and actually and a few different types of log script which are important. But at least we have a conclusion up to here. This is important, okay, about the block preparation, okay, this whole thing. Okay, I'll stop here, Kumar, and in the lab we actually this picture is good enough. In the lab we are going to introduce Hyperledger. So Hyperledger is again a different blockchain platform, and but this picture will help us introduce Hyperledger, and we will be able to do application building on Hyperledger. But I want to know whether Hyperledger has been covered in the workshop.
Yeah, Hyperledger is not covered. Till now we have not touched anything.
Okay. So